Hello boys and girls, this is Mr. Malzberger here with our final lesson from the probability unit, probability and statistics. Trying a different angle here, trying to see if you can see things easier if it's landscape instead of portrait. We'll see if it works out. Today we're going to talk about two different types of they're called plots. They're a way to look at data in statistics. Now, of course, in these examples, we're only looking at a few numbers, 12, 15, 20, something like that, to look at. But if you're doing real scientific studies that need real statistics, you're looking at thousands of different scores. And it's hard to look at 1,000 different scores. You can look at these numbers right here pretty easily and tell me about them. Because there's only like 3, 6, 9, there's 15 it looks like. But if I gave you 3,000 numbers, it's harder for you just to look at all of that and make any sense of it. So I'm going to show you two different types. Not today, right now I'll start with the stem and leaf. The stem and leaf is basically, you have the stem, and what the stem is really the tens digits. So I'm looking here, my biggest tens is a 6. So check this out. I'm going to do 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm also going to put a 0 because there's no tens right here. These are the stems. Now, okay, so now the leaves are going to be the ones digits. The stems are the tens, the leaves are the ones. So I've got two 60s. So I'm just going to put 2 zeros right here. That counts for 2 60s. Let me look at my 50s right here. I've got 53 and 58. So I have 0. I should put a comma there, sorry. 3 and 8. Let's look at my 40s. I only have 2. I have 0 and 7. I have 3 30s, 3, 6, and 9, 33, 36, and 39. I have 2 20s, 22 and 28, and I have 3 in the teens, 12, 18, and 19, and then 1 in the ones place. Now, is that the most useful thing? Maybe it would be if there's a lot more data involved. But one thing you can do is you can compare. So let me show you what that looks like. On these bottom two, I have A and B. So what I'm going to do is in the middle, we go from 60 down to, let's just go to 0. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And the stems are going to be in the center. So now what I want you to do is take A, and on the side, list out all the different things, just like I did up above. Pause the video and try that. Okay, so if you did what I asked, you should have had 3 60s, 0, 0, 0, and yes, that's the highest score I was looking at in this. I have 52, 5, 8, and 9, so 52, 5, 8, and 9. Only 140. I have 47, 30, and 38. And then a whole bunch of 20s. 21, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9. Now again, by itself, this doesn't look like much. But what if I compare the A numbers with the B numbers by listing the B numbers on the other side, keeping the stems on the inside? So there are no 60s, but there's a bunch of 50s. I have 1, 2, 2, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 2. It's kind of weird because I'm going the opposite way. 6, 7, 8. 40, and then 40s, I have 4, 48, and 49. So 4, 8, 9, 3 30s, 3, 7, and 9. 3 20s, 4, 6, and 29, and then I add 17. Now, what can you do with this? You can just make observations. Obviously, let's say these are two classes and these are scores on a 60-point test. I mean, that's the easiest way to think about a lot of the stuff to compare it. You'd say, well, there was, a good chunk of people who did really well in the 50s and 60s, but then a big chunk that struggled, where this had a lot more in the 50s, and then an even distribution that was kind of all the way down. It had the lowest score. And that's all that really is we're just using it to compare. This is not my favorite. I'm not a fan of the stem and leaf, but I wanted to show it to you in case you ever saw it again. It's not even on your homework. Let me show you what's next. Okay. Maybe you've seen this before. Oops, I knocked my camera off. Okay, maybe you've seen this before. We are going to work on something called the box and whisker plot. So the box and whisker plot has 5 bits of data. So there's a piece in the middle, 2 to the sides, and then outsides. And so the box and whisker plot is actually made up of 5 different numbers. So the first thing we're looking for is the median. In fact, the median is pretty much what this is really about. The median, if you remember, is the middle. So the first thing you need to do is count up how many different numbers there are so you can figure out if it's an even or odd set. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, there's 15. So since there's an odd number here, there's one number in the middle. And I know that 7 and 7 make 14, so it's the 8th number. So 2, 4, 6, 8, right here. 32. This is the median. And that makes a dot. I'm gonna make it with a different pen just so you can see it down here. That point right there is 32, and that represents the median, okay? Now what this does is it breaks up the data, the numbers, into two different chunks. You have the upper half and the lower half. Now, of these two different chunks, you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to find the median of each half. So, in the upper half, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Another odd set. So there is one number in the middle. It's the 4th number right there. So 36 is the median of the upper chunk. Now, when you divide things in half, you have 2 pieces. What happens when you divide those 2 pieces in half again? You have 4 pieces. Those are quarters, right? So this number here, this is the half line. This one right here is the quarter line. They call this the upper quartile, right? Quartile for is the upper quarter. This is like the 75-cent piece. This is the 50, and down here we're gonna have the 25. So this is the upper quartile, and that's 36. So right here is another dot. Now I'm gonna go down to the lower chunk, find the middle number. It's right there. It's 18. And if this is the upper quartile, this is the lower quartile. Okay. That's going to give me the point 18 is right here. Now this makes the box, okay? So I probably should have grabbed a ruler, but we don't really care, do we? So the box is made up from the lower quartile to the upper quartile, with the middle line that's going to be floating around inside this box representing where the median of the scores are. So if this was an exam worth 40 points, half of the kids scored better than 32 and half scored less. Now you can see here that the next quarter, from 50% of the kids to the 75%, scored between 32 and 36 points. Now this is only 3 bits of data. There are 2 more numbers, and what they do is make the whiskers. They are the largest number, the maximum, and the smallest number, the minimum. So this max is 38, and the minimum is 6. Okay, then we connect these. I'll use my other pen, like this, and those are the whiskers. Box and whiskers. It doesn't show you everything. It just shows you certain things that you can use to compare to other box and whisker plots. But if I had 1,000 different scores, and I'd say, well, you know, right here is half of all the numbers. Right here is the upper half of the numbers. Half of the kids got 32 out of 40 or above, and that's 80%. I know, you know, 4 times 8 is 32, so that's 80% of 40. So half the kids did better than a B. I had one who did really bad. There was a big wide spread right here between 18 and 32. There's a quarter of the kids. So the bottom half was really spread out, but half the kids did really well. Let's look at one last little bit of information. So this is how you build it. On any test I've ever seen that's talked about the box and whisker plot, they ask for the interquartile range. This is a question that's very specific to a box and whisker plot because you have the quartiles marked, so they're asking for the range between those two. If you remember the lesson on statistical measurement, the range was the distance between the minimum and the maximum, the difference between them, right? Right now we're looking at 38 minus 6. The range of this actual data set is 32. The interquartile range is going to be the subtraction of the two quartiles. So 36 minus 18, that's 18. 18 is the interquartile range. That's the range of scores in the box. The reason why they ask about that is it's a vocabulary specific thing. It's not something you can guess at. If someone said, hey, figure out the range for this, you go, well, that's probably this, because you use that term in real life. You never say this. Never. So just know that's the question they ask the most. Let's build another one. If you would like to try this second one all by yourself, go for it, pause the video. If not, I'll get started. First thing you want to do is count and see how many numbers we're looking at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, 12. So we have an even set. So that means it splits in between the 6s, 6 and the 7, right? 3, 6, between 6 and 7, we have 6 on each side. So remember, if it's an even set, there is no number in the middle. So what's between 28 and 29? Well, halfway of between is 28.5. which would be right about here. So there is the middle of my box. Now I've split these into two groups of 6, lower and upper. So it's still even, so half of 6 is 3, so here's my lower quartile, which is between 25 and 27, which is 26. Oh my God, I have a typo on here that I did not catch. Let's make this should have been a 30. Oops, it really should have. So fix that now. See, all you kids who watch the video will catch that there's another 30 there. So it's 30 and 30, so what's my upper quartile? That's 30. So let's put these on the graph. So I have 30 here, and I have 26 down there. Okay, let's build the box by drawing the line down here and there. Make your rectangular box and then put your halfway median line. Let's see, we have a 33 max and a 18 min. So 33 and a minimum of 18. So, it's not the best line. Sorry, I just bumped the camera there. Very small box, right? Very narrow box. Not that big of a whisker over here. Kind of the same. If you compare these two, you can obviously see that the range of answers or scores is extremely different. This has a lot more high scores, whereas this one with a median of 32 and this one a maximum of 33, over half of these scores are above the highest score here. Most of these fall between 26 and 30. So much narrower range. The interquartile range, of course, is going to be 30 minus 26. So we can write IQR would be 4. Very narrow range for the middle 50% of the scores. All right, let's do one more, and then I'll give you some that kind of look more like the homework to practice on. Okay. So go ahead and pause it and do it yourself, and then quickly catch up with me to check your answers, or just do it with me. Here we go. Let's count first. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, they keep getting smaller. So this is an even set. So 5 on each side. So there's the middle split. Halfway between 12 and 14. Well, 12 and 14 make 26. 13 is right in between them. That's my median. And now it splits into 5 and 5. So I have my quartiles right in the middle. 9 is my lower quartile, and my upper quartile is 29. So 9 is my lower quartile. 13 is my middle, my median. And 29 is my upper. Wow, it's going to be a really weird looking thing. Now let's find my min and my max. Min of 8, max of 38. Minimum of 8. Wow, right next to it. A maximum of 38. Okay. So I'm going to take this line here and this one here, and I'm going to build my box. There we go. And then my median line is right there. That tiny little whisker, and wow, this is very different looking. It kind of looks like the opposite of the one at the top, doesn't it? This is just a way to look at a lot of different scores. If this was a test, we wouldn't be happy with this. We would have been a lot happier with the very first one. The second one is pretty consistent here. There's a very wide range in the interquartile range. The IQR right here is between 29 and 9. That's a range of 20. So 50% of the scores have a range of half the entire possible points if this was a test. Okay, so you have the box on whisker plots practice sheet. At the very bottom, there's some lines for some observations. So read the situation, graph the box and whisker. I know there's not that much space there, but I wanted to just fit it on one sheet for you. So just make it a little bit smaller. The second one, you're going to compare these two different groups and just tell me what you see. You don't have to write anything down if you don't want to. You can just jot some notes or just talk out loud. I'll go over it in a second. So pause the video and then we'll go over this. All right, here we go. So, number 1, Larry entered a 90-day push-up challenge with his buddy Ray. He kept track of how many push-ups he did and took a look at his results after the first 15 days. Used his data to create a box and whisker plot below. So 15, the number's given, so we have an odd number, which means there's 7 on each side of the 8th number. 3, 6, 7, 8. So here is my median. And since it's odd, it's taken out because now I have 2 equal halves of 7 and 7, which has a center. The 4th number come in 3. There are my 2 quartiles, lower quartile and upper quartile right there. Okay, let's plot those points. I have 15, 24 for my median, upper quartile of 30. Okay, let's build that box. And yes, I always make weird sounds when I draw. It's just something I do. I notice it so much more now that I'm recording. My maximum is the maximum of 40, and the min is going to be 10. So 10 there, max of 40. Okay, that's pretty. Well, if this is in order, he's obviously getting better at it. The bulk of his push-ups are in the range between 15 and 30. Let's go down to the next two. I didn't do the interquartile range. Oh, my cat has now entered the picture. Thank you so much for that, kitty. You have ruined the video. Say meow. All right, let's try that post-feline attack. All right, where were we? We were finding the interquartile range right here. I didn't put a little star by that. Find the interquartile range. Upper is 30, lower is 15, so an interquartile range of 15. All right, number 2. Mr. Mumblewitz split his 5th grade class of 24 students into 2 groups of 12. Those who like pineapple on pizza and those who don't. He compared their averages on 12 different 40-point assessments. Create a box and whisker plot for each. Make 2 observations comparing the 2 plots. The pineapple pizza people posse, here are their scores. Okay, so 12 different, so it's an even split again. So 6 and 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's my middle. 28.5 is in the middle. That's the median. So now my lower quartile is going to be between 26 and 7, which is 26.5. My upper is between, well, another typo, 30 and 33. Well, if 63 divided in half is going to be 31.5. Okay, let's put those points on. 26.5, so halfway. 28.5. And 31.5. That's a small range. Let's see, so half of their scores were, let's see, passing would be 28. So over half of their scores were passing if this was on a straight scale. Let's see, I've got a max of 39, a min of 5. So 39 is right there, and 5 is all the way right there. That's not a very good assessment, that 5 score. So that goes there, and my God, look at those whiskers. Those are huge. All right, let's compare the ZA Revivalist group. So 6 and 6 again, 3, 6, split it. 26.5 is the median. Split the lower quartile, and I get 12 between 11 and 13. And between 27 and 28 is going to be 27.5. So I've got 12 for my lower quartile. 26.5 for my median, and 27.5 for my upper quartile. Okay, that's a very close middle line to the upper quartile, and there's a little cat hair on there. That's hilarious. Okay, so there's my median line. My max is 34, minimum of 9. So 34. And then 9. So attach those together, and we've completed them both. Now let's talk about some observations, things you could have noticed. You could have said the range of the pineapple people, whatever, is much greater than the range of the ZA people, the ZA revivalists. You could say the interquartile range was much narrower with the top group than this bottom group. You could have noted that the median of the ZA revivalists is exactly the same as the lower quartile of the pineapple people. It's not something that's full of, oh my God, look at all these wonderful observations that I made. It's just comparing and looking at things. And that's what statistics is about. So, yeah, hopefully you saw something. If you saw something really cool and want to state it, leave it in a comment. But attach your work and get full credit, and I'll see you next time. Look for homework number 4.